Hello, I'm Jesse Skellington of LARPHeroes.com, and we're going to be doing a basic tutorial on how to make a strap. So I'm introducing today what we'll be building is a leather strap buckle, and we'll be talking about how to set this leather groove in two different ways, and for the tongue of the buckle, and then we'll also be talking about how we set this rivet and how I've learned to do it over the years and find it to be very successful in holding, and the particular style of rivet that I like to buy. I'd like to introduce the tools to you. A rotary leather hole punch. This is a buckle punch. This here is a metal ruler. I recommend a 3-foot or 4-foot metal ruler, so you're cutting off chunks of hide to get long belts if that's what you choose to do. A nylon hammer to actually use to tap on the belt punch. A knife that, this is a particular style that I like, where you can actually take off the back part and you can break off the tips, because it's really about the sharpness of the tip when you're cutting your leather strap, and this is an important knife. You may use any other knife, of course, it's going to work just as fine as long as it's cutting your leather. A ball peen hammer, we'll talk about why we use that lastly for the rivets. And then here is a pair of wire nippers that I use if you make a mistake for the leather rivets or need to remove them for any reason. We'll talk about how those are used in the end. And then last but not least, a vise. You can pick these up pretty inexpensively on Harbor Freight or at your local hardware store for around $30 or less. And really what you want to do is have something that can grip a 2x4, as well as having a hard surface to pound the rivets onto and set the rivets. Okay, what we're going to be doing next here is we're going to cut a leather strip about a 1/2 inch wide, and we're going to make it so that it just fits right inside the belt buckle. And we're going to do that by just taking our metal ruler and our knife, getting about a 1/2 inch in depth, and just doing a cut. Take this slow and do multiple passes. See if it can come out for me. Nope, still a little bit attached. And there we go. So now we have our leather strap cut about a 1/2 inch. We can do a test, and you can see how that fits right in here to our buckle and goes all the way through. What I like to do on the ends of my leather strap, you can see here where this is cut at an angle. I like to cut them straight. And then I like to cut just the corners off. And then you get this almost pseudo round edge. You may go for a round edge if you like the look. I'm just pretty quick about getting this stuff done, so this is the design that I feel has been most effective for me. And you'll see why as we go through a little bit further. What we're going to be doing here is setting the oblong hole punch for the leather strap. If you look here, you need to have a tongue and the ability for the buckle to move around, to do some strapping in the tongue to be able to go up. So we do that by doing it two ways. One, we'll be using this oblong leather hole punch, and we'll be pounding it here onto the 2x4, or we'll be able to do it here with the rotary hole punch, and we'll do that by just taking small niblets to get a 3/4 inch oblong hole. What we're going to be doing is taking this leather strap, and we're going to be producing this long oblong hole with this oblong leather hole punch. We're going to do that by grabbing this. We're going to be using the end of a 2x4, and we're going to just pound right down here down. And what you want to first do is fold your leather to about 3/4 inch to a 1/2 inch in length. Find your center, give it a nice crease so you can see where the center is. Then you can take your leather hole punch for the belt buckle and guesstimate about center, and then just tap this thing down. You want to start going down one end and then start to focus on the other side and rock it back and forth. Then you can see where here it's done the hole punch of the center. If you don't happen to have one of these oblong tools here to cut out your area for the leather tongue, I like to do it this way. I will bend this once again to about 3/4 inch distance, get my center, and then I will nibble out the center by just doing multiple hole punches. And then you have your center area cut out. Okay, so what you do, once again, fold it back in half where you had it previously. And what I like to do is make sure that my hole on the top, here where you're going to visibly see it, is exactly in the center. And I like to keep this about 1/4 inch down from the tip on the underside. And let's have a little over here. And just give it a good hole punch. I also like to give it a twist, just to make sure that it's cut at the bottom. And then now I have a hole all the way through to both sides for the rivet that we'll be setting in just a moment. Next we'll be placing the buckle inside the leather strap. One of the key things that you want to identify here is that the tongue itself is going in the right direction. It does have a direction, and I've set these many times backwards, so be prepared to do so. And you'll see how it has a small divot here in the tongue and folds up and over at the end of the buckle. So you just place this in here, then take your tongue, push it up through the oblong tongue hole, and then tuck your leather strap back down under, and then line up your 2 holes where we'll be setting a rivet here in just a moment. But now at this point in time you can see how the buckle has freedom, the tongue has the ability to move all the way to the top, and this will help you set your leather strap when it comes up and over. What we have here now is some leather dye. This one in particular here is blue. This is from Tandy Leather. The particular style here that I like to use is called EcoFlow. And before you actually set your rivet and put in your buckle, I would dye the leather, is what I would recommend to whatever particular color you would like. Gives you a nice finish and a match to the rest of your armor. I'd like to introduce the rivet that we'll be using. This is a shaft with a cap. Oops. I'll find them kind of hard to hold on to. A cap. And what they do is they actually just the shaft fits right up inside the cap, and you'll find that it'll snap. And what's key about this particular, I buy this at McPherson's Leather here in Seattle, McPhersonsLeather.com. And this one here has a divot at the very tip, insetting, as well as a crimp on both sides of the end of the shaft of the rivet. And this allows you to feel a nice snap into the rivet head. The other key thing that's different than other types of rivets that don't have this particular indenting in the shaft of the rivet is that once it's set, it doesn't mushroom up inside the cap of the rivet itself. And that seems to be key to actually having a nice secure hold on the rivet for longevity of use. What we're going to be doing now is taking the rivet and we're going to be putting it into our rivet hole in our buckle. We're going to do that by just feeding it through the holes. We're going to take the cap of the rivet, and this is a number 3 rivet. You may get by with a number 2 rivet. Both work just as well, depending on the thickness of your leather. And then next we're going to be setting this rivet. What next we're doing here is setting the rivet. We're going to set this bottom rivet side down with a hole. And what we're going to be doing here, this is a particular style in which I do things. Everybody's going to do it a little differently. But I find this to be the most successful in strength. First I start to tap this down. And now it's nice and flat. And then what I like to do with the ball peen hammer side is pound down very slightly here. And it'll create a convex divot in the rivet, and now I'm absolutely secure, and you can see up inside here in the shaft where it is compressed, and it's truly mushroomed here inside the rivet, and it will not come apart. I've had many of these last for the lifetime of the leather itself. What we're going to be doing here, what if you actually set this buckle backwards, and how to fix that. What I like to use here is some wire cutters. You can get at your local hardware store. And what I like to do is take this and wedge it between the two pieces of leather where the rivet has put them together. And let's see if I can get some good leverage here and let you see it in the camera. So now I've wedged it, and I'm going to slowly squeeze, and what I'm going to do is pull back out. You can see how it kind of bends the leather and allows you to get to that shaft of the rivet. So we can cut it, and let me go ahead and just grab this and clip it, and now you can see the rivet has been cut, and it's just easy to pop right out here. Get the top one, get the bottom one, and then you can take your belt buckle and then reverse it and put it back together again. So here's the finished project. As I talked about earlier, where I cut the leather instrap here flush, and then just took off the tips. This way, if your leather is not exactly flat and your hole isn't completely together, you have some edges there giving you more of a finished look going on the inside. Also, we have plenty of space for our tongue to go back and forth, and also plenty of room for a buckle to move freely. This one here, once I did is I just took the tail, put some holes in it, finished it off by doing a small cut, and then just loop your buckle and your belt here together and put it in, and then you are done. Now here is just an example, here I'll just put it over my finger, of the leather strap entirely. Here this mimics in this particular leather armor where it has a very long strap, and how they particularly solved putting their straps together. And once again, let me go ahead and tack this in and fold it over and put this together. So again, this is how they put their particular piece of armor together, and here is the leather strap demo that we just did.